Do you know the location of your asshole? A question that you don't want to hear from the following people: your proctologist or the mad scientist from the Human Centipede movie. And also, movie, I think that's a very invasive question to ask, but since you asked, yes, I know exactly where my asshole is. I know where it's located, and I know where I could locate a better movie by reaching all the way up into the darkest, deepest recesses of my sphincter, all the way up into my stomach, and just tickle it around and say, oh, I found something better. And whatever the fuck this sequel's supposed to be, I'm John Rentham with the retro review of Bridget Jones' The Edge of Reason. I reached the edge of my goddamn reason for this movie to exist about 30 minutes in. I saw it a number of years ago. I remember it being in theaters when I actually was working at the theater in town. And while I remember thinking it was a serious downgrade from the first, I thought, okay, there were elements that weren't bad. Man, I don't know what the fuck I was thinking, because this movie is absolutely fucking abysmal. 1000% fucking abysmal. It was directed by B-Man Kurdon, who did Tu Wong Fu, Thanks for Everything, Julie Newmar. Man, the 90s are weird. Should I retro review that movie? Let me know. And once again, it's based on the novel, and then it was also written by the same people that wrote it before: Richard Curtis, Andrew Davies. Adam Brooks joins the writing team, who did French Kiss, and Definitely Maybe. And Definitely Maybe, this movie was utter dog shit. So, if you are not familiar with the storyline of Bridget Jones, Renee Zellweger is named Bridget Jones. She writes in a diary, and the first one had life and energy and wit and charm, and actually, it could make you almost tear up. It didn't make me tear up, but could make people tear up because it was love conquers all. Despite the fact that Bridget Jones is a very flawed character, you appreciated what she was doing in that. And sure, Hugh Grant was a creep. Sure, Colin Firth was kind of a mumble-mouthed fool. But it worked in that movie. It very much worked, but it also is timeless. And even though, yes, the technology, some of the fashions, yes, the movie looks dated, that movie also is something that you could watch now. You could watch the first Bridget Jones in 2050 when half the world is irradiated. But the one thing that I do want to point out about Bridget Jones' The Edge of Reason, before I get into the rest of it, is despite the fact this movie came out 3 years after the first one, it looks more dated than the first one. I don't know if it's the camera equipment. I don't know what the fuck's going on, but this looked more dated than the other one. This looked like it came out in like 1995, maybe even 1993. Notting Hill looks more modern than this. So, Renee Zellweger, Gemma Jones, Jim Broadbent, Colin Firth, Hugh Grant, and a new character, Rebecca, who is played by Jacinda Barrett, and my oh my, me oh my, down on the bayou. She's beautiful. Still is, I assume, but she looked good here. And basically, after the events of the first, Bridget and Mark Darcy, again, Colin Firth, who was named Darcy in Pride and Prejudice, do you fucking get it? They have to navigate their relationship and the strains and stuff like that and everything. And really, this movie is just a fucking retread of events from the first one. But instead of the wit, the charm, and everything, slapstick is more the type of comedy they go for here. And there's like maybe 3 gags that hit, if that. There is a line later in this where they say there is nothing funny in this at all. And they're pretty much right. There also was way more money poured into this movie. The movie cost $25 million. The first one did. This one cost $40 million. And it made, which by the way would be $66.4 million in today's money. And an $8.6 million opening, which by the way is down $2.1 million from the 2001 version. And that would be $14.2 million in today's money. A $40.2 million U.S. gross. For those that aren't math majors, with advertising, this thing bombed in the U.S. That'd be $66.7 million today. And the gross for the first one was a healthy 71.5. Also costing $15 million less. Now, the movie did make $265.1 million worldwide, which is $440.2 million in today's money. So it made quite a bit. it was still almost down like like 70 million. $334.2 million for the 2001 version. And I forgot they actually did a third one. I think I've seen a few clips. I've never actually seen the full thing of Bridget Jones's Baby and whatever the fuck the new one is. I actually don't even remember the title of the fourth one because I haven't even seen a trailer for it. But I decided, okay, you know what? I'll rewatch this. And as I said at the top of this, it is fucking abysmal. This is an abysmal movie. There are stretched out gags. This thing is only 10 minutes longer than the original and somehow feels 30 to 40 minutes longer. So we're back 3 years later, but despite that, they have only been together for about 8 weeks. So I don't really know what the point of this was because they're acting all serious about the relationship. Renee is like confused because she's torn because she hasn't really been in a lot of relationships. And look, I get it. You wait for the other shoe to drop, especially if you're happy, if you're not used to being happy like this, and you wait for the other shoe to drop. But come on. Come on. She's still doing the news stuff. She does a skydive and goes into a pig pen, thing full of pig shit. Damn you, Henry O. Godwin. That is a deep cut for wrestling fans. Stop staring at me while I'm asleep. Go do something else. Go find something else to do. Oh, I see. I see. Everybody else can do it, and it's put on film. I watch people while they sleep, and I'm suddenly taken to court. But enough about that. She's got sex on the brain. She's really overwhelmed by him, and after only 8 weeks of dating, she's kind of a bitch. Like, that's the thing. They turn her character into kind of a bitch, which, yes, I'm not saying that Colin Firth's character is perfect. I'm not saying, by the way, that he doesn't have flaws. He still seems to appreciate her, though. And, she's having imagery of a kid in marriage this early. And then Daniel Cleaver shows up, a.k.a. Hugh Grant's character. Grant has a few okay moments, like, at least initially. He's doing, like, tour guide work on television. I guess he just left his other job. Everybody just seemingly left their jobs quick. Because if this is only 8 weeks after the events of the first one, my oh my. Can't Get You Out of My Head by Kylie Minogue plays a lot more contemporary music in this. They had a Beyonce Crazy in Love, thing near the end of this. Comedy doesn't hit like before. The slapstick is especially bad. The writing is almost gratingly shit. Rebecca gets introduced. I do have to say, Jacinda Barrett plays her character pretty well. And they try to tie the way her character acts into the finish of the movie. The problem is it doesn't really hit like they wanted. There's some, quiz stuff at a banquet. They get to culturally contemporary stuff where Bridget suddenly succeeds. She insists that Madonna's first UK hit was, it was some song, but it turned out to actually be Holiday. And there we are. So then Colin Firth asks if she go on a skiing trip, a mini break. And then every work person is there, including Rebecca. And the ski trip leads to a pregnancy scare because she's like, oh my God, I think I'm pregnant because we've been having sex. But wait a second, I haven't had my period. Oh my God. She gets a pregnancy test. There's a silly stuff or some silly thing with German people celebrating her pregnancy she actually doesn't have. This isn't funny. One of the parents talked about, I think it was Colin Firth's parents said, do you want to eat any more? No, the mini spotted dick filled me up, which I will admit got a laugh out of me because spotted dick is just funny. But then a voicemail from Rebecca, the way it's worded implies that, well, I could come over for a nightcap, but Bridget will be there. So that kind of ends up causing them to have a rift and everything. And look, to be fair, while it is not his business to out somebody, he could have said, we are not together. But he also didn't want to push too far and possibly expose her. And Bridget also is kind of bitchy, but I can see both sides, but also it gets ridiculous. She retreats her usual tropes, breaks up with him. Her parents are going to renew their vows, and her and Daniel still have a bit of a spark, so they do a news correspondent thing where they go up to Thailand. Daniel brings her up to first class. One of Bridget's friends hooks up with a guy named Jed, who ends up kind of sweet talking her because she's older and cougaring. By the way, I wonder if Ryan Coogler was doing, the director of Black Panther. If his mother actually got into that, dating younger men, would she be couglering? I don't know why I think these things. Let's just move on. So, arrived Bangkok very hot. Just ask David Carradine. The Thailand part was really bad. Like, really bad. Almost offensive. Because it just showed the Thailand women being really dumb. And they had a gag where Hugh Grant was trying to sweet talk Bridget because he didn't necessarily want to date her, but he didn't want Mark to have her. It's ridiculous. But he invited a woman that was going to give him a massage, or a call girl, a lady of the evening. It actually turned out to be a very makeup heavy boy, I guess, which I don't know why they felt the need to throw that in there, but whatever, it's fine, I guess. So there's this point where there's this this snake bowl thing that is put, that can't go into her friend's luggage. So Bridget puts it in her luggage. Well, a drug sniffing dog finds it and the bowl gets broken apart, and the bowl had cocaine in it because Jed wanted to smuggle some cocaine and have them take the fall. Bridget gets arrested, and we have terrible, terrible running gags with her talking to the prisoners. One of the prisoners really likes her Wonder Bra type thing. I don't know. And then Mark arrives and basically decides to help her out, but plays it off like, well, I didn't do this. I got calls from above. More on that in a bit. All charges are dropped. She tells Mark that she loves him, but it's too late. It's absolutely too late. She sounds stupid talking about all the stuff that that Mark didn't end up doing in this jail cell while waiting for herself to be freed. Because all these women talked about being beaten or put on the streets or drugs and stuff like that. Oh, well, yeah, this, and then she just lies about what Mark did. So great, if Mark ever goes back to Thailand, he's going to find out from these prisoners what she fucking said. So, again, kind of bitchy and kind of really stupid. So, then Mark and Daniel end up having another fight because they're in some kind of art gallery thing. Daniel's doing something. The fight in the first one was funny. This one was ridiculous. And they said, I believe in a thing called love. Which actually was kind of funny. I do laugh at that song. But they fought again, and this dragged on for so long. And then back home, her friends basically say, oh, by the way, we had to go to Mark, and we went to Mark and talked to him once we found out. And he did all this stuff, all this extra work, all this extra legwork, calling these numbers, getting Jed, and he got arrested and stuff like that. And once we found out about all that, all charges were dropped against you, and he flew to make sure that the charges were officially dropped. And then Rebecca shows up, and Bridget says, Rebecca's at the house. Oh, he's at the office. You want to come in? No, it's okay. And then Rebecca basically ends up confessing her feelings. We see a montage of all the looks that she had towards Bridget and everything. And okay, whatever. I mean, be whoever the fuck you are as long as you're with a consenting adult. I don't fucking care. But the way they kind of use this as a way to really draw some emotional depth, it didn't work because the plot was lost by this point. It would have been a good storyline hook, except they really just fucked the whole thing up. She did end up kissing Renee Zellweger. Hot. No, I'm kidding. It was fine. But they end up, they basically part as friends because she says, I'm still only interested in men, but if I ever do decide to bat for the other side, only you. That's not how that works, but whatever. It's fine. Then she goes to see Mark, interrupts some kind of meeting, very important meeting and everything, and she says, out in the hallway, well, you can ask me whatever question, as long as it's not, will you marry me? And then it was. And then she has to basically try and, dig herself out of a hole, which she has dug herself constantly. She has dug holes for herself like crazy. And then she basically ends up, kind of almost pressuring him into asking again. He does. They get married the same day as her parents renew their wedding vows. And then she catches the bouquet. I know it's a bouquet, but work with me here. And then her and Mark wander off, in the snow and everything that didn't look real at all. I mean, I'm not saying they need to film in winter, but Jesus fucking Christ. And again, I cannot stress enough how fake this movie looked and how bad it looked compared to the first one. It looked 10 years older than the first one, or at least 8 years. It was ridiculous. I didn't understand it. But anyway, yeah, this movie was not good. It was not good. She talked about finding her happiness. Great. But then this whole thing was put on ice till 2016. And by then, the whole plot was lost. And why they're doing a fourth one, I don't know. But yeah, I'll find that out here in a bit. So yeah, I'll have a review of the third one up at some point after this. And then I'll be reviewing the fourth one. Why? Because evidently I hate myself. And you guys want content. So why not? Anyway, it could surprise me. It could be it could be worse than this. God, I fear it might. Anyway, agree, disagree with what I said. Like, share, subscribe. That is, scribe. Anyway, so yeah, Twitter, Letterboxd, Blue Sky handles in the description. I'm John Ritlin, and I'll see you soon.